Welcome back to the Cultural Curriculum Chat podcast, the show where we explore culture, identity, education, resilience, and the lived experiences that shape our communities and our lives. I'm your host, Jebeh Edmunds, and today's episode is one that I know will resonate deeply with so many listeners. Today, we are talking about resilience, hope, motherhood, education, and what it means to keep showing up for yourself and your family, even through life's most difficult seasons. I'm honored to welcome educator, advocate, and founder of Single M, Gail Showalter, to the podcast today. Gail has spent over 20 years working in both regular and special education, and her lived experience as a single mother raising three children has shaped the heart of the work she does today. Through her storytelling and advocacy, Gail reminds people that healing, perseverance, and hope are always possible. Gail, thank you so much for being here today.
I am very happy to be here and talk about some of my favorite topics. Yes.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. I love that. I would love to begin with your story first and foremost. You've been very open about your experience raising three children as a single mother before remarrying. Can you take us back to that season of your life and what it taught you?
Oh my goodness, we could be here all day. Um, yeah, I went through a terrible divorce, and that's not uncommon.
Yes.
But when it's happening to you, it's uncommon. And I had three little kids, and so I didn't know what I was going to do. And ultimately, I had to go back to college to get a certificate where I could get a job because my teaching certificates were in theater and art, and those aren't exactly big demands. And so I did that, and I had an English certificate so I could get a job, and I did. I got jobs, not a problem, but it was tough work. It was tough work, and then at the same time having children to raise along with that. So I learned a lot about resilience and perseverance, and I'm a very persevering person. And I do have resilience, but it's a lesson that comes with life and lots of life. And so when I got into special education, that's when everything changed and shifted. And we can talk about that later. But it taught me a lot. As a teacher, I learned from those students and the parents, and I just learned a lot during those times working with blind children.
Oh, I
And
love that.
technically, you're supposed to say children who are blind. I
Who
know
are
that.
blind. Okay.
But
Yeah.
child first. But you know
Yes.
what? They don't care. They don't care how
Mhm.
you say it. They just care how you make them feel and what you do for them that makes their life maybe a little bit easier in the schools.
Yes. Oh, yes. And like you said, your advocacy is right up there with your passion of helping all kids. That's amazing. I think so many people carry those silent struggles, especially single parents who often feel pressure to hold everything together. What are some of the challenges during that time that people may not always see or understand?
Well, when you're working with children in special education, sometimes their disability is sudden, sometimes it's something they're born with, but the percentages of divorce for their parents is very high. Well, one of them I looked at once was about 65% of the parents who have a child with a disability do not remain married. And I went through with my parents at least 4 divorces. They just couldn't handle it. And a lot of times, not to be sexist or anything, but a lot of times it's the man, the father, who can't handle the situation for some reason. I mean, we don't have to go into that, but
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen a lot, and, ultimately, what was happening with me was in Texas, we don't call them IEPs, we call them ARD meetings, but it's the same thing, and you would see situations where I would be on the fence because I knew the parents very well, the parents of the students that I worked with individually. I knew those parents. I still know many of them. And, then I was working and being paid by the school, and I had to walk that tightrope because I had employers that didn't want me to offer certain things that I wanted to offer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, I it became very difficult towards the end, but that's the case, I think, across the country. You know, theoretically, you're supposed to offer certain things to all the students, but financially, you can't. You
Yes.
just can't do
Yeah.
it. There's not the money for it, especially
Yeah.
for autistic children. You know, the treatment for autism is extremely the successful treatment, the good treatment is extremely expensive. And public school systems, they can't do it. And I don't think
Mhm.
private ones can either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a organization here that uh, specifically deals with autism, but I'm getting kind of broad minded here. But the thing is, I was in regular ed for 10 years too. I was in a
Yes.
high school classroom, and I
Wow.
really knowing what I know now and seeing what I see now, I wouldn't want to be in a high school classroom. Uh, and there's things that have happened in our culture with regard to teachers and respect or lack of respect for teachers
Yeah.
that has caused a lot of issues. But I
Yes.
also have 15 grandchildren all over the world, actually. And I know out of 15, there's one, that the teachers are having trouble with. And so I see it from all different angles. I see it from all
Yeah.
different angles. And I've learned a lot. I want to think, what would I do differently if I were there now? And I don't know. It's a complicated issue.
And as educators too, former classroom teachers, we're constantly self-reflective. That's us in practice. Like, what could I tweak if I were to go back? And the same thing, you're right. We can't go back. And I think that's okay, to just enjoy the time that you had with your students and also reflecting in like you said, the lack of respect that us educators are in this profession. We feel you, we see you, we understand. It's really hard to be an educator in this country this nowadays. And so it's really, yeah, interesting and just that paradigm. And I also like how you shared that thin tightrope you have to walk with the students that you're serving and the families you get to know and you build those relationships with. And like you said, having to decide sometimes out of your own actions, you can't do it because of, you know, budget or resources or lack thereof to help all of your students. Making those hard decisions, I bet was really difficult for you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I look back on that and I think, okay, what could I have done different?
Mhm. Yeah, different.
And I
Yeah.
don't really know because there's the professional avenue lane that you're in, and then there's the compassionate avenue that you're in because most teachers go into it because they care.
Yes.
And
Oh, yes.
especially when I was with students whose situations were maybe not really good at all. I
Mhm.
wanted to fix it. I wanted to make it different. My hands were tied
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of ways.
Yeah. Oh, I get that for sure. Now, you describe, I like these three P's. I love a good acronym of experiencing the potholes, the pests, and the perils of being the sole head of your household at that season of your life. And I thought phrasing was so powerful because it feels honest and real. When you are the sole um, caregiver, the sole financial person for your family, it is. It's not always a walk in the park. And so, how did those experiences shape the person that you are today, Gail?
Well, it gave me a great deal of appreciation for everything I have and
Yes.
my life now because I know what it's like and remember. I remember those. In fact, what's funny is we got paid once a month on the 25th of the month, and I still think about that when it's the 25th of the month. Um,
Yes.
that was a long stretch to make it, from one paycheck to the next, but I was fortunate, more fortunate than a lot of the moms that I work with now, and that their dad was around and I did get some child support, but it never was enough.
Oh,
And,
yes.
so it taught me the resilience, taught
Mhm.
me to do things, to take on things and challenges and goals that looking back, I don't know how I did it. I look back and I think, how in the world did I take 3 children, move
Yeah,
from here to Austin to go to school? How did I do it?
I
Well,
do.
it was interesting, one little step at a time. I learned to take life one step at a time, not try to eat the whole enchilada at once. And
Oh, yeah.
so there was that, and then it seemed like there was always some pothole or something going on, whether the refrigerator died or whatever. So I do have those memories, but I got through them, and
Yes.
I did know how to ask for help. I wasn't, and that's what I teach, moms that I work with now. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It doesn't look bad, for you to
Mhm.
have help. And, we live in a country where a lot of people wanna help you, and there are
Mhm.
lots of wonderful organizations for us all. And I was on Facebook the other day with a single mom group, and it just breaks your heart with these women telling what they need and what's happening. But a lot of times they'll get a response that says, "S Call this person, call the Salvation Army, call, call, call." In other words, don't just sit there. And
Yes.
so I do a lot of that. I do a lot of that kinda coaching because I think that we are well, sometimes when single moms feel intimidated,
Yeah.
they don't go to church because there's not anybody else there. They say 9 out of 10 single mothers in the United States do not attend church, which is that's a sad number because the people that in the churches usually wanna help.
Mhm.
And some churches have programs. In fact, I encourage your listeners, if they're in that situation, there's 2 really good programs, and I'm sending books to them right now. One is called Divorce Care, and the other one is Single and Parenting. And I taught single and parenting, and you can look that up online. You can find out if there's any place near you that offers those programs. They're good programs. They're not dogmatic or pushy. They're just good.
Yeah.
Maybe once a week you go and you sit with a group and you watch a video and you have discussion. It's just a really good idea. And so I encourage that.
Yeah.
I remember I was in the middle of a move when my son was 9 years old and his appendix ruptured. Now, there's
No.
a whole story that's published on my website about this, but it was terrible because the doctors just kept saying, "I can't believe he's alive."
Wow.
Well, I stayed at the hospital. I wasn't gonna leave, and I was in the middle of moving. I had just bought a house, and I had to move the property, and the furniture had to be moved, and I needed the speaking of a refrigerator again, I needed somebody to help remove the refrigerator. So I asked a friend, and she was going to choir practice at her church that night, and these people knew me, and, she mentioned it, and the whole choir went to my house, and everything had been packed, and they moved everything.
Wow.
It still gives me chills,
I
you
got
know?
chills.
But
Yeah.
see, you had to reach out. I had to
Mhm.
do the first thing and
Mhm.
give them an opportunity to help you,
Yes,
and so
yes. And
that's really something important.
oh, so much. And I love how you shared that you make the first step in asking for help and how everybody is willing to just stand up and help you because you always hear that, well, if you need anything, let me know. And
Right.
a lot of people are like, oh, is it time? And it feels isolating for some of those single moms that don't have a community of support like at a church or other places of worship. But like you said, taking that first step and opening up your mind and a community, they're there for you. That's amazing. Let's talk about your single M and what inspired you to create that organization in your work.
Okay, that's, Single Moms Empowered, yes.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I started in 2007 wanting to give back, wanting to give moms a free weekend, and we had events, and we had some pretty neat events. Then we also did some overnight retreats for about 6 years, and somewhere along the way, realized that these are great things, they were wonderful events, memorable events, but they didn't last. It wasn't giving them something lasting. And I remember the organization here in Texas called Buckner. They have special programs just for single moms. They actually provide housing and childcare while the single mom goes to college for a couple of years. And I wanted something like that, but I didn't have several $1,000,000 to
I
bring
know.
it. So we started very, very small. And we started with one woman, Jackie Gilreath, one of my favorite people. And we got her through college. Now she's a social worker, and we have several moms, I don't maybe 10 that we have gotten through school. I have a board now and I don't have to do very much, but, we very carefully bring them in, and we make sure that they're dedicated, that they really know what they want, and that they're going to go back to school with help or not, and we
Mhm.
help with tuition, we help with books if there are any books, which is a kind of a different nowadays, and, we help with childcare, which is a really big thing, and sometimes we have to help with transportation, situations with their cars, things like that, and so we help them most of them for 2 years, but we are helping a couple that are gonna finish a 4-year degree, and it is really a blessing to watch it. The best story I can tell you is a year ago, we had a mom graduate, and when she was walking across the stage to get her diploma, her child was in the audience, and he stood up and screamed as loud as he could, "That's my mama."
Oh,
And I thought, that tells the story right there, because 'cause you're
yeah,
helping 2 generations. That
right
child
there.
will never forget that moment. Not
Mhm.
much less that she will forget it, but the thing is, you're showing possibilities and determination, and then they get a job. We have, nurses, LVNs, social workers, dental hygienists. We have 1 police officer, you know, and we have radiology technicians. It's just been really exciting to be a part of that. We're not trying to be a big, huge organization. We have one-on-one mentoring for the moms. Now, Jackie, the one that I mentioned, is a social worker. She's being a mentor for the girls that are going through now. And I tell people all the time, I'm not one of these people that thinks a college degree is necessary for everybody. I don't.
Mhm, mhm,
My children
mhm,
didn't get college degrees.
mhm.
We couldn't afford it, but
Yeah,
they're doing fine.
they're
They're
doing
doing
fine.
fine because they have a strong work ethic, and they're
Mhm.
doing fine. But the thing is, single moms need something.
Yeah.
That's the ones that I could tell were doing okay. If they had
Mm,
some sort of certification, they could get a job. The ones who
yes.
didn't, and a lot of them didn't because they got pregnant young,
Yeah,
the daddy exited, and then they couldn't go back to school. They had to
yeah,
work.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's a different world, and there's a lot of stigma still. People have this judgment, and, oh, I get upset about that.
Oh, me too. Me
Uh,
too.
I,
Yes, yeah.
don't like any kind of cultural judgment. I don't like it when people look down on others,
Mm,
I can tell stories, but the thing is, these moms need compassion, and they need a hand up, and when
yes.
they get it, I get to watch it. I see the difference. And I'm not talking, there I have moms from different nationalities, all different cultures. It doesn't matter.
Matter. They're all and like you said, the powerfulness behind that young child seeing his mother accomplish something, it shows him that he can do the same thing too. And that too, I like it with that extra P. I like that possibility. It is
Yeah.
possible as a single mother as well. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I also want to ask you something else that stands out in your work and your commitment of hope, even after navigating those difficult experiences, your child appendix rupturing, having your village of support helping you. What is your message remains rooted in your inspiration for a better tomorrow?
It sounds like a cliche, and I know that people have heard it before. But once you believe in yourself and you have that inner knowing that I am worth it and I am worthy and I am willing to go ahead and open doors, knock on doors, wait for the ones that open, go through them. Do not sit back and make excuses because I mean, I have seen people in wheelchairs do a lot. And the moms, like I'm talking about mine that are grown now, I have one that she lost all of her vision when she was in college. She's now 40. She climbs. She's a climber.
Oh,
Were you these we went to see her competition in Houston the other day, and she climbs, and it's just so wonderful to watch her do
yeah,
that and feel like this is accomplishing something. She also works at that place, but because we're in the world we're in, even though she has education, her jobs are limited, very limited.
very
And I
limited.
have 1 or 2 that are working and doing really well because they've been given an opportunity. And that's where our culture needs to change, is to start to see what the person is capable of doing,
That part.
not
Yes.
what they're not capable of doing, but what they're
Yes.
capable of doing. And if you, listener, will listen to your internal voice, encourage you, and be with people who encourage you. Don't be around the people who are the naysayers. Don't even be around that.
Exactly. I love that. And that just goes to show you sharing with our listeners, especially that single parent, that caregiver, that woman listening today that feels exhausted or discouraged. Don't give up. Don't listen to the naysayer. There's opportunity everywhere. Anything else you'd like to add to that, too, to give that listener hope to just keep going? Don't give up. Don't fall for the perils and the potholes and the and the
Yeah,
pests.
take 5 minutes for yourself. Take
Oh,
time to
yes.
paint your nails or get in the bathtub and have a bubble bath, relax once in a while. Give yourself permission.
Yes, give yourself permission. That is so wonderful. Before we close, Gail, this is just such a great conversation. Where can our listeners connect with you, follow your work, maybe donate to your organization to get more single mothers, that leg up?
Yeah, we always need that, but, um, I have a book that's just like a conversation with women, telling my stories, and I like to share that. I mean, I'm mailing free copies everywhere, but,
Okay.
they can go to gailshowalter.com and sign up for my newsletter. I send a newsletter just for fun that's got different things in it. It's maybe a little humor, maybe a little advice, a little lesson, or something like that. I only send those out twice a month, but they can sign up on that website. Now, the website for the single mom organization is singlemomsempowered.org,
Okay. Yeah.
and
And I
it'll show you anything you need to know about that organization.
love that. And I'll have all that information in the show notes. One more thing, Gail, one more hot seat question for you before we go. Is there somebody in our community that you would like to give advice that is seeing that single mother out there that might be struggling a little bit? What advice do you have for them?
Give them a pat on the back and tell them they're doing a good job. Just a little thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I can count the number of times anybody ever said anything to me. I guess they thought I had it all together, but it's a tough road. Just
Wow.
let them know you've noticed.
Oh, I love that. Yes, let them know you notice and to be seen. And before we close, thank you again for joining me, Gail, today and just sharing your story so openly and honestly. And to everyone else listening to the Culture Curriculum Chat podcast, thank you again for tuning in. And if today's conversation inspired you, reminded you that you're not alone, Please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with maybe a single mama who may need this message today. And you can also support this podcast by checking out my culturally inclusive lesson plans and educational resources on JebehEdmunds.com. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you here same time, same place. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.